So you know the part in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince where Harry and Dumbledore go into the cave to look for the you-know-what, and then they get attacked by you-know-whats? This one's kinda like that. This is Natural 9 episode 82 covering Critical Role episode 82. Last time, the party licked their wounds after nearly dying, and actually dying in 2 of their cases, during 2 different fights with 2 different ancient dragons. They also met up with their old buddy Carrick, as Vox Machina and friends headed back to Whitestone to figure out what Raishan's next moves are, ultimately tracking her to the Isle of Viscon, the last known home of a powerful necromancer known as Opash. With their next destination set, the party starts waking up from their slumber, replenishing everything that they lost during the fights with Thordy and Rai Rai. Attunements are done, with some of the party using some of the new toys, Grog being really excited about that hammer that they found last week, which turns out to be basically a Thor hammer that can be thrown and returns to him. He also figured that Care might be better off using his new fancy dancing blade, but as he tries to give it to him, the blade shows a reflection of a beautiful but terrible woman-like monster, disintegrates, and then gives Grog a hell of a headache, putting him at -2 on all of his saves from this point forward, correcting the mistake that Matt made last week from the Deck of Many Things draw. The party is a bit concerned about that, with Pike trying and failing to restore him to good health, but Grog brushes it off, powering through. Everyone has a nice hero's feast to gain its benefits, poison immunity being fucking clutch, and the group heads off, silent boot-wearing Kima and badass sorceress-esque Allura in tow. Why, yes, I have been getting enough water, why do you ask? The party arrives on the island of Viscon, the island where Opash made his home after being banished, and the island where Raishan is allegedly doing her research. Everything's black. All the trees and vegetation in a radius around the lab are dead beyond compare, like a really sad petrified forest. Percy recalls that there was once a group of people who lived on this island, but that they had apparently disappeared after Opash had arrived. No doubt this is linked to the wilting of all the life here. Vex keeps an eye out, trees are thinner as they go, and Vax almost steps in a trap. Nice one, Vex. Kiki deduces that it's hollow earth, a patch of eroded earth caused by magic. Seems like a residual from whatever Opash did. Grog confirms it by throwing a rock at it. Good job, Grog. The twins compare perception checks, and Vax's natural 20 spots a big-ass rock that's covering a hole, peppered with smaller holes. Trap checks yield no traps, but that the holes are indicative of the claws of a big-ass dragon. Stone shaping is considered, with recon to find another entrance also being considered. Care and Vex end up using their senses, divine and primeval, and Vex senses 3 presences. Shit. Meanwhile, Grog tries to get the Deck of Many Things back, and succeeds after trading a get-out-of-death-free necklace. Or, well, he thinks he does. Dang, even with Vex getting a 9 sleight of hand check, Grog still manages to believe the empty pouch that Vex gave him is actually the right one. Chances are that the Bailey-Willingham marriage is in jeopardy, though. I hear counseling helps. Stone shape is cast, and while no passage is made, Kiki manages to look through the hole that she created. She fails pretty hard at that. Vex, however, succeeds at using her oracle arrow to view the inside of the cave from a distance. It's dark, yo. Options for completing the opening are discussed, and Travis isn't gonna stop giving Laura shit for what she did, is he? Oh man. More discussions about how they're gonna get in now that there's a hole. We once again meet the greatest enemy of Vox Machina. The door. Using a lever sounds like the best idea. Percy asks Kima nicely to use her Holy Avenger, agreeing to the you break it, you buy it policy, and hands it to Grog, who gets help from his buddy Pike to pull the makeshift lever. And they get in, thanks to strength and the immovable rods. As they move through the tunnel, they find a bone. Lots of bone. Some blackened. The bone's scarring seems years old, but not centuries old. probably from when Thordy used this as his lair. As they continue, Vax asks Pike to ward off some death from Vex on the sly, and Pike does it. Which is funny because Pike is being controlled by Laura. Oh, and Percy and Carrick are human, by the way, so Vax lights his candle blade. Alcoves and cubbies are all around with candles, skulls, and no apparent traps. Vax skips a treasure chest because fuck that shit, and there's some sort of undead presence somewhere to their left, according to Care. They keep walking. The party reaches part of the tunnels where things are a bit more civilized. They realize that this undead energy is indeed coming from one of the skulls in the cubbies. It could be used like a security camera. No smashing, but they decide to face the skull towards the wall. They enter a chamber with an iron door that impedes them, and a green pillar in an iron bowl, and a brazier with fresh tinder inside. No one else in this room, no undead around. Keyleth lights her hands on fire, and now they see more. Vax takes out his wings because fuck it, and Vex deduces that there's some residue in this bowl, and that residue is blood. There's also a tome nearby, and it may or may not be made of human flesh. Kiki pets Vax's feathers. Allura sighs, recalling that adventuring with a bunch of nerds can be incredibly silly. Vax messes with the tome, and Percy tries to read it, but the text blurs out of focus. Care throws some light and the text disappears completely. Then they try to get the dark vision reader to try, but it's still not perfect. Afterwards, Kiki lights the brazier, and it explodes. 32 damage to Kiki and Care, 16 to the others that save. So, that was a bust. Instead, they put blood into the bowl. First some basilisk blood, does nothing. And then some Vex blood. It takes a moment, but the door opens. And then, laughter. Multiple sources. Holy aura is cast by Pike to help out. And then the flame-wreathed skulls arrive. Scanlan goes invisible, then Vax throws some blades at one of the skulls. Keyleth throws some radiant damage at them with a moonbeam, and then 4 different fireballs hit. Thankfully, that thing Pike did gives advantage on those saves, which is good, because saving on all of them reduces the damage to 56, which means the max damage would have been 112. Fuck! A fuck ton of damage later. Thankfully, a lot of saves happen because of Care's aura of divinity. The skulls try to leave, but Percy says fuck that and shoots the shit out of one of them, destroying it, then shoots the second one twice to destroy it, with Vex repeating the same action with a couple of arrows of her own. Grog then takes a couple of swings at the last one before jumping away like a sissy, and Allura finishes the last skull off with 4 perfect magic missiles. That's not the thirst talking, that's literally 4 perfect D4 rolls she made with them. With those fuckers gone, a short rest is needed and taken and heals are had. After that, Scanlan, with Sam having sent Taliesin and Marisha a thing to do this. Oh, by the way, Sam's not here this week. Scanlan smokes the weed. He takes the last hit of his Sood, which somehow gives him a sorcerer point so he can go a bit Tiberius and extend a spell's duration with it? What? Don't do drugs, kids! Now that shit show's over, the party goes forward. A spiral staircase leads down, and the party tries to figure out how not to walk on it to head downwards. And then a glyph appears. Scanlan manages to roll initiative to dispel the magic. Taliesin then does his best to replicate Scanbo's music ability. And it's pretty good.
Wing.
Rockcliffe, you don't have to turn on the blue lights. Yes! Rockcliffe.
Oh shit!
Yes!
I mean, come on.
You don't have to give our bodies to the spikes. Love you, Sam. Love you.
That was good.
That was good.
More traveling down, and there's a chasm. Vax flies across it, and his wings expand. He manages to save with Whisper. Then Vex realizes that there's something funny going on as she flies over the gap. Percy takes a few steps over the bridge, and then Allura deduces that gravity is rushing. The gravity. It's rushing. The gravity's been flipped. Gravity Rush 2 in stores now. As they figure that out, things start falling up. Figures. Bodies. Undead bodies. Falling up. One grabs Vex off a natural 1 dex check with Pike on the broom. Percy misfires, Kiki nearly taunts the DM, but manages to grasping Vine and catch the two, while Vex works on stabbing the undead with her opal dagger, and Pike destroys it with her holy radiantness. Bodies falling all over, everyone trying to cross the gap with Care at the helm of the carpet. So much is going on here that even I'm confused. Just so much. Whatever the details are, most of the party makes it across the chasm as a huge hand made out of fucking corpses attempts to catch them. Thankfully, Care destroys them himself, because he's a paladin. Fucking badass. Too bad that Grog and Scanlan are still on the other end. Thankfully, Vex is a lot better at flying this time, and she flies across to grab them. And as she makes her way back, a fucking face made of corpses comes up and does the same thing as the hand. Fuck, what the fuck? She saves. Everyone's fine. On the other end, there's more creepy stuff, including a skull pouring water upwards onto a green gem and some jagged bowls. The tunnel down below looks more man-made than before. Percy trades an ascot for a jug, and Grog looks dapper now. The water does nothing when touched. Meanwhile, Grog wants to fill the fountain, but Allura figures there might be a better idea. She uses a jug to block the gem from being hit with water, and the gravity reverses in the ravine room as hundreds of bodies fall back down to earth. The party continues, with Vax doing his thing and going ahead. Up ahead, 2 cages with slumped bodies inside. Brick walls, candelabras, pillars with glyphs or carvings. 2 eggs, crimson, scaled. The corpse of Thordak himself. A bookstand, the big book open. Reading it, a tall woman, dark green hair, pale skin. She reads very fast and is very concentrated on the book. Raishan is about to get punked next week. What a tense evening. How creepy was that face that almost ate Vex? Tell me all about it in the comments, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you're into that. Then join me on Twitter as we cry over this fucking battle together. I've been Arthur from Natural 9, and is it Thursday yet?